And we are live. Hi, everybody. This is a super special day. Today, I'm actually in New York City in Rebecca's office. So if you guys see pictures of family behind me, it's not my family, it's Rebecca's. So that might have been confusing. But anyways, I couldn't be more thrilled to be doing it here in New York City, where Female Founder Collective was born. Along with Bobbi Brown today. You know, Bobbi, I'm a huge fan, and I was thinking yesterday about when I was perusing the makeup aisles for the first time. It's like your brand then was the preeminent, and still to this day, you've just had such lasting power with the way that you think about branding and the way that you innovate. So I couldn't be more excited to jump in with you. Quick reminder to everybody, we have our beauty and personal care cohort, and that is for the 10th house, which is our private membership community. We do industry-based cohorts, and really the idea behind this is that you can share your needs, share resources, and also, Bobbi can probably attest to this, when you are building a business, it is so incredibly lonely, and to have the opportunity to do it alongside other people who are maybe a couple steps ahead of you, maybe a step behind you, it's so enriching, and it is so much faster to build when you have the quick sort of ways around these hurdles that other people that are building can give you. So to note, we'll put in the comments when we're closing out. I can't totally remember. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you all to Bobbi. I feel like she doesn't need an introduction. Most of you know her, but I want to go through her bio because it is so incredibly comprehensive in terms of what she's done. So she is a beauty industry titan, a world-renowned makeup artist, best-selling author, and a serial entrepreneur. Bobbi Brown Cosmetics was acquired by the Estee Lauder companies in 1995, and she served as its chief creative officer for over 20 years, building a globally recognized billion-dollar brand. And in October 2016, she left her namesake brand to return to her roots as an entrepreneur. And just 5 months later, in April 2017, she unveiled Beauty Evolution LLC, a holding company she created to launch her next round of businesses and creative endeavors, including The George, which is a 31-room boutique hotel in Montclair, New Jersey, with modern style and historic bones, and it opened in spring of 2017. She's always been a content creator and editor, and she opened a state-of-the-art photo and video production studio, 18 label, and launched her own multi-channel media platform. Wow, I can't say that word, at Just Bobbi Brown. And through her personal social media accounts, along with her daily educational musings captured on TikTok, YouTube, and recently launched daily Substack platform, Brown has a viral reach of over 8 million followers daily. On October 26, 2020, at the height of the pandemic, she made her return to the beauty industry, launching Jones Road, which I'm just such a huge fan of. I have even all of your balms in my car when I need to touch up quickly, which is a collection of edited and indispensable clean beauty products for all ages, skin types, and skin tones. And 5 months after the launch, Business Insider named Jones Road one of the fastest growing brands of the year. In less than 4 years, the award-winning brand has collected accolades from respected media outlets. So many things. You've reinvented and invented and come up with new channels. I mean, the fact that we're all still trying to figure out social media, and yet you've launched a multimedia empire too, it's really incredible. I do want to jump into Jones Road though, and understand what the key factors were that influenced your decision to launch it immediately after your non-compete agreement.
Well, first off, hi, everybody, and it's nice to talk to you. And I made a note for myself. I don't know where they got the 8 million followers. I mean, I haven't quite added everything up, but I mean, someone clearly added it up.
Somebody added it up for you. You're like, wow.
And I'm like, okay. But so, I didn't think I was going to launch Jones Road. It wasn't, when I left the first brand, it wasn't like I said, oh, I want to do this again. No, I didn't. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I realized when I was doing a bunch of other things that I really missed what I loved most. And I wanted to launch Jones Road because, number one, I missed what I was doing. I
Yeah.
was missing, and I really missed being the boss, because I was, by the time I left the corporation, I was not the boss. There was too many people that thought they were the boss. So, any founder knows who sells their company, it eventually happens. Though I stayed 22 years, which is, a whole nother story. But I also saw the world changing, and I saw how people were buying beauty was so different, and also how people were looking in the world. I mean, I wanted to be part of a clean brand. I wanted to teach people that you don't need a lot of makeup to look good in your daily basis, and you should have more than one look, all of those things. So launched Jones Road, thought it was going to be a teeny tiny little, indie beauty company, and it's turning not to be that.
So your intention wasn't to make Jones Road this big empire again, as you did with Bobbi Brown.
No, because if I thought that was going to happen, I would have said I don't want to do it. Right? I mean, I never look at any of my businesses, and I've had so many of them. This is going to be the biggest thing. This is going to be huge. This is going to be this. I just do it because I see something that excites me, whether it's something that hasn't been done before, but everything's been done before, whether it's something that I think I could do better, differently, that's what excites me.
And with Jones Road, talk to me about how that came about, right? Because you said, everything's been done before, but why did you think that specifically Jones Road products and brand was needed?
Well, when I left the first company, and I had really 4.5 years left on a 25-year non-compete. So I had,
25 years is great.
I had a 25-year non-compete when we sold the company, which I don't even think it's legal anymore. And that just really meant,
that's surprising that it is legal.
Right. I mean, I was about 34 years old when we sold the first company, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be 60 in 25 years. I'm not going to want to work. Well, guess what? I started Jones Road at 62. So that is not accurate. I am working in my 60s and probably my 70s too, and probably my 80s, if you know me. So, which is so weird to even discuss that. But I just, I made a product. I just made a product, and I was like, oh my God, this is friggin' great. I bet people would love this. And then I'm like, well, I need a whole color range, and I need this. And by the way, I don't have to put in anything expensive. I don't have to hire a whole team of marketing people. I don't have to do any of the things I used to do. And I could sell this, whether I was going to open up a store on Etsy, I'll sell it on Etsy. I'll sell it off Instagram. I just had all these ideas. And we launched Jones Road the day my non-compete was up. And, here I am 4 years later.
Who was on that initial team, right? And when you say we, and
there
you
was,
intend for it to be some big empire.
Well, first of all, my secret weapon is my husband. So, there's nothing I don't do without him. He is kind of the counterpart to me.
Yeah.
And, and he's the guy that figures out how and when things should get done. So he's super, super, important to me. And he believes in my, creativity and vision. And he sees, if he sees me getting excited about something, he's really wants to support me. So we at the time, excuse me, I had an assistant. I had someone to help with product development. I had someone that was, started as an assistant at Bobbi Brown Cosmetics and continued to work with me on different projects. I had her, and I had someone to do, some PR on a different, from a different company that I was working on. So we launched 4 or 5 of us.
Got it. So you had a good team, but in terms of your husband, was he working with you at the very end at Estee Lauder as well? Or he helped you launch? What was his role in Bobbi Brown initially?
Well,
and then other projects?
When I started selling Bobbi Brown, I was selling out of my house. I was selling to models, to friends, to neighbors. And then someone wrote about it in a magazine. I started getting orders, so we needed things. It just kind of grew slowly, but grew. So he
Yeah.
started doing all of that while he was in law school. My husband is a real estate developer, and when the market crashed, he went to law school. And so, in between law school, he helped me with this business. So, once we sold the company to Estee Lauder, I mean, they're not about to say, "Sure, husband, come in." So he was pretty much
Was he
done.
the CEO?
Was he what?
Was he like the CEO or
No, we just guess
COO?
what? We don't have those kind of titles. I didn't need titles. So, and there was he was just my partner on everything, and he
Yeah.
did what he was good at. I did what I was good at. Even today, he takes the garbage out. I put the dishes away. It just kind of it's how our marriage works and how our business works. So, when we sold the company, he was still dealing with all the paperwork, the finances, the taxes, all of my things. He just
Yeah.
didn't get involved in Bobbi Brown Cosmetics anymore, unless he was needed for something. He physically built the first Bobbi Brown freestanding store. Not because Estee Lauder said come in, it's because he's in his development. He had a little store he didn't know what to do with. He says, "Oh, what do you want to do with this? You want to make it a store?" I said, "Sure." And so him and his, team, his construction guys, whoever was there with a roll of tape, we taped it out, we built it. And then I had to call Leonard Lauder and say, "Leonard, do you mind like hopping in a car and coming to Montclair? I got to show you something." I showed him the store and I said, everyone keeps talking about it, but nothing happened. So I built it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But in terms of, again, going to your husband, because I do think that this happens a lot in business, right? I had a conversation with the founder of Osea a couple of days ago, and she has worked with her husband, but also her daughter now, right?
Mhm.
How have you been able to keep the relationship strong as it is, both personally and professionally, and how do you sort of delineate between the office and home, or do you not?
Right. Well, I mean, we just celebrated our 35th I think 35th, 36th, I should know, anniversary. We have 3 sons, 2 are married, 1 has a baby and a child, 2 years old now, and a baby on the way. Our third is only 26. And just to make things even more interesting or complicated, right now, Jones Road, our head of brand is my daughter-in-law, Pyle, and who's the mother of my granddaughter, and her husband Cody started out as a consultant, then became the CMO, then became the head of growth, and now he's basically the acting CEO. So
Wow.
it is a family business. They literally live around the corner from my office. We eat dinner with them and see the baby most nights. And we mostly, we talk about things just to catch up on what we didn't talk to during the day. But then all of our attention is on Lily, or my granddaughter, or travel, or,
Yeah.
something. So we talk about it, get it out of the way. I
Yeah.
will say when we're together with the whole family, the other 2 sons, we'll talk for a minute. I mean, they're owners also of the business. They're not involved on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
So we try, you have to pay attention to see when they're bored.
Yeah.
And then just stop.
But I feel like that's kind of the dream, because then again, you get to see each other. And that's what Jennifer, the founder of Osea, was talking about too. She's like, it's amazing because I get to see and be in the world with my daughter.
Right.
Which is just, it's wonderful. And, it's like you spend so much time in your work, then you don't necessarily have to think about integrating it because you're with your partner all day long, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah. But when you work with family members, you realize you have to treat them and verbally talk to them different than you would talk to someone that works for you. So I learned that the hard way. Like I have to be sure.
Specific.
I have to be thoughtful in how I say things.
Yeah.
Where I look at this as a partnership. There's things that they're doing that they're not getting my permission on. They're not getting my buy-in. And most of the things is fine. Every once in a while, I'm like, you probably should have called me. I might have had a different thought on that. So, it's taken a while for us to learn how to talk to each other. And my son knows he can't say things to me like, "Oh, mom, it's not done like that anymore." That was, basically saying you're too old. You can't say that. And I can't say things to him like, "You're not as experienced as I am." We
Yeah.
bring, so we're open and honest, but I don't, I guess that's how I am with him as his mother. So it kind of makes sense.
So it makes it easier. I want to talk for a second about when you left Estee Lauder, you said you were no longer the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak a little bit to, and I think I know the answer to this question. I was going to ask you if you ever want Jones Road to be acquired in the same way. And I want to understand why or why not, right? So what are some of the things that you learned in that process
Right.
that you would have changed had you been able to go back and be like, I'm now in the process of an acquisition, I'm not going to do this or this, and this needs to be part of my contract, et cetera?
Well, there's really nothing I would do differently. I mean, I'm not a person that looks back. I mean, honestly, my only regrets in life, because people always ask me that question, is that I didn't do weights and I did too much aerobics. Honestly, that is it, because I do think, building a strong body is more important than being a skinny person. So I'm trying to catch up on my weights. But, as far as things that happen in business, I sold my name. I don't own my name. So what? Right? No big deal. It's called Jones Road, not Bobbi 2 or something like that. And that's fine. I go forward, and if there's an issue or a problem, I kind of look at it and say, all right, how do I deal with this? How do I go around it? So would I sell it the same way? No. And I've also been part of a big corporation. I don't want to ever work in a big corporation again.
Yeah.
Because it just, I find it a waste of time, waste of money, waste of energy, waste of angst. And, we're not looking to sell. I know it's inevitable that someday someone's going to make us an offer we can't refuse. We started this company with our own money, so we became profitable the first year.
Wow.
Because we do things kind of simple and homegrown. Like, people can't believe we have 6, almost 7 stores. We don't have a merchandising team or person.
How are some of the ways that you're lean and get to that profitability so soon?
Well, I mean, we don't have, we have a lot of people working for us. I'm not going to say we don't, but even we opened a store. My husband is a developer, so he had his team build it. Coming in, it's around the corner. No, why don't we do the shelves here? No, well, why don't we? Yes, we should start with this cabinet. Oh, go run to Staples, see if you could find this. Go run to Home Depot, and then eventually we built the makeup artists, tables. And then we just replicated it in every store we did. And we needed, all right, well, how do we merchandise this? And I said, all right. And we loaded our cars with interesting, cute things. And we just kind of went from there. We needed something to elevate the products. My husband was there. He said, hey, go to that construction site and just go pick up some pavers. I think it's going to look good. So we started putting pavers on these tables and put, the products on. I was like, that looks really good on the marble table. That looks really cool. So it's become our signature. And funny, we're only in one department store, and it's at Liberty in London. And so they got pavers. And they were plastic hollow pavers. They looked okay, but I was like, no, we need real pavers. But, so we do that. We tape pictures up on the wall in our stores with Jones Road tape. It's very cute, and
it's like the aesthetic of the brand.
Yeah. So those kind of things. And, we launched the brand, with a paper lunch bag, and, it doesn't cost crazy amount of money, and it's not overpackaged.
Yeah. So in speaking of the brand, because you are known as a brand genius, I think everybody listening to this wants to understand, what is some of your secret sauce? And when it comes to Jones Road, you've been able to build that relatively quickly. And again, it's like it's for all ages.
Mhm.
How do you think about branding and make sure that you're appealing to, Gen Zers when you're not Gen Z? I was with somebody last night and they were like, it's so hard because I'm a millennial, and I agree. So just wondering how you think about that.
Well, I think I'm someone who's really curious. I'm a sponge. I love people with like open eyes and good energy. And those are usually the 30-year-olds or, 25-year-olds, not, necessarily people my age who are, been around and kind of whatever. For some reason, I don't think of myself as my age or even as much experience as I've had, but I take that experience and I kind of distill what makes sense, what doesn't. And as far as, branding, for me, it's just simple. I'm very attracted to people that have positive light in their eyes. I'm
Oh,
attracted to really great lighting. I'm attracted to, nice. I'm attracted to nice. I'm attracted to nice people and people that work together. And believe it or not, I kind of have a formula for Jones Road. We shoot every 2 months. We do, all of our photos. We get 6 to 8 models, depending. We have a wardrobe closet. I don't have to hire a stylist. I style everything. I have a young intern that helps me lay it all out. And, I walk over and pick out the jewelry and the things. I call some of my friends in the business and borrow things. And, I do the makeup and I do the editing, and I have a great team. So and it's the same photographer. I use one photographer. I use one hairdresser. I have my team, and it's like it just works. Like it's just fun and it works, and we get a lot of pictures and it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's really simple.
and how have you thought about like the models that you work with?
Well, it really depends what you're shooting. So, since we do it every 2 months, I know what's happening in the next 6 months. So, like right now, I've got 6 faces for our shoot in 2 weeks. There's a bunch of the models we just bring back all the time. Like we have one girl, Molly, who, is almost every shoot she's there. I have, my niece, Carly. I have my sister-in-law, Nancy. So we have our core people that I love that always bring them home. And there's certain, and then we're always looking for a little bit of newness. I mean, it's like common sense. We look for diversity in skin color, in age. Sometimes we like people that are like funky, like the cool Asian girl with, blonde eyebrows, or the girl full face of freckles and no
Yeah.
hair on her head. And other times, we like these amazing, silver haired beauties that are just come through in the camera. And it's just, I want to have a little bit of each. And by the way, it's my favorite thing to do, doing makeup and putting someone on a set and
Oh,
trying to create some magic. It's fun for me.
I love that. And in terms of ambassadors,
Mhm.
right? How do you work with ambassadors, like influencers? What is your strategy when it comes to overall marketing, and how do those fit into the mix?
Well, when I first launched the brand, we sent to my FOBs. I have a list of FOBs, which means friends of Bobby. So anyone from, Kris Jenner down to, my Aunt Alice and my sister. So, I have, many years of people that I know would support me and, throw it up on their stories. And so that's how I launched the brand. And then we started kind of figuring out, well, I guess we have to start doing the influencer thing. And I just kept seeing these things, and I'm like, oh my God, we can't put these up. Like girls with nails out to here and so much makeup and really bad contour. And I'm like, and they're digging their hands in the Miracle Balm and it's in their nails. And I was like, okay, wait. So then we started, mostly I found people on Instagram, and I've started a few people's careers because I'm like, I love your profile on Instagram. If we send you makeup, will you put it on? And they have. And then, so now we pay our content creators that are almost friends of the brand at this point, to do things. And we have a head of influence, and she's fantastic. And, they do have influencers they send it out to. And we do pay some, content creators. What's the difference between a content creator and an influencer? I think nothing. I think they're the same.
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
It's just how people define it.
Right.
With your media company that you do, is the content, is that integrated into Jones Road? Like, do you use that? Or is it more of a sort of back of house content creation company for multiple brands? Like, how does that fit into the mix?
Well, it's my knitting. It's my pickleball. It's my golf, meaning I don't have hobbies. I love social media. I love creating content. It's funny, I don't think of myself having a media company. I guess I do. I do a lot of paid speaking, and that goes into, one umbrella account that is not part of Jones Road or anything. And, my husband and I have a few businesses. We have a hotel, we have a photo and TV studio in Montclair, and I do the social for both of those things. So I don't really think about who and what it's for. I opened a Substack. It's me and my assistant. I have no idea, I'm not a writer. I just love sharing different things with my audience, and it's growing. I give all the money to an organization in my town that helps the underserved. And, I'm very competitive with, how many followers, and it's very slow at Substack, but I love it. And I just do things, and they kind of semi-integrate, like whatever I do, because we'll talk about it, and so it'll help all the entities. For example, I begged my creative team, could you just make me a how-to? I wanted a before and an after, and how to line the eye. And it took a while for them to find the time. They did it. I put it on Substack. It did really well. We put it up on our social, on TikTok, and on YouTube, and it was one of the highest performing things. So now I'm bugging them, guys, can I have more of those things? So I'm looking for a social kid video guy to help me edit footage we already have.
Oh, well, if that's a call to action, I feel like there's probably a lot of people that could send great people your way. Yes. So FYI, everybody. But do you actually, with your studio, do you lease it out to other brands, or do you do shoots for other brands, or is it just purely for your own content?
Well, no, it's an event and photo studio. The Food Network used to shoot the kitchen there. We've had anyone from NFL Films to CBS News to, we've had really great, Women's Banks have come and rented it for events. So we have, it's rented out. We book it every couple months.
Got it. And going back to the branding piece, and the evolution of that for you, it seems like a lot of that comes from the gut. But do you feel like what learnings from the past brands that you've built or been exposed to have influenced Jones Road?
Well, for me, the things I'm most proud of that I did at the first brand were things that I was really heavily involved in, and, helped kind of bring in the creative, kind of be part of it. And then towards the end of my stay at that company, things were happening without me. And I would look at them and be like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. It's awful. It's not on brand. I'm sure I was a pain in the neck to them. I'm not proud of what it was, because it really wasn't me. So, being at Jones Road, I just make sure I would say 90% happy with everything that goes out there. Like a few times I let someone else win because I'm like, okay, you really feel strongly about that? Fine. Maybe it's going to work. So we're doing a pop-up this weekend at Finney Pizza in Brooklyn. We have a store in Brooklyn. I'm like, all right, makeup and pizza. All right, I love pizza. But they went out and shot pictures, and there's pictures of this absolutely gorgeous thin pizza with a Miracle Balm, sitting next to it. And I'm like, yuck, what's that about? It went up there because everyone liked it. I'm like, guys, why can't you just have a cool girl with the Miracle Balm in her hand and have a piece of pizza? like in between bites, or something. Like I don't know. Makeup and food don't sit for me, but I'm sure it's going to be a very popular event.
Yeah, it'll do really well. Speaking of Miracle Balm, it's a new product category for the most part, right? How did you come up with that? And where else do you feel like there's room for innovation in the beauty space that you want to see? Maybe you're going to build it someday. Maybe somebody else here could think about building it.
I mean, where does innovation come from? Where do hero products come from? It's not like you could sit down and say, okay, team, let's do a hero product. I mean, I do know I have heard of corporations that have big meetings to say, okay, we want a hero product just like Shimmer Brick or Gel Liner. It doesn't work that way. You always make your best effort, and maybe it's something that goes, is really popular. I could care less about viral. That lasts for a second. But to make something that people really like. So, in my past life, it totally invented and made up Gel Liner, totally invented, Shimmer Brick, and I know there was others. In Jones Road, the Miracle Balm was a happy accident. I didn't sit down and say, all right, I've got to create this hero, product and it's going to be called this. No, I was asking the lab to create something. And this was early on before we launched. And we set out, to all the different labs, like, this is what we're looking for. And this one lab, like, sent the stuff over. And, I looked at it. I'm like, that's not what I asked for. And I was like, shit, guys, come on. And then, as a makeup artist does, I stuck my finger in it. And I was talking and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And then I smell everything. And then I went like this and I'm like, oh my God, look how much better I look. I said, this is a miracle. And I said, this is one with no color. What if we tint it? What if we do these kind of colors? And we did. And I'm like, oh my God, that color corrects my yellow. Someone else said that color corrected my redness. And then it kind of evolved from there. So we didn't know if people were going to like it. And when it first launched, people, didn't necessarily, because no one told them they had to break the seal. They were going like this saying, there's not much payoff. And then we realized, no, you have to break the seal. And it's
that was what I was doing initially. I was like, wait, how do I? So
Yeah.
Speaking of, it's a really great point, because when you innovate and create a new product, there's education
right
goes along with that. So how did you educate people so that they weren't getting the product and going, oh, this isn't for me. Like, it's not doing anything because I'm using it.
Well, my background is a makeup artist, and I've always taught people how to be their own makeup artist and how to put makeup on. So I get it. I'm also someone that pays attention to comments that come into CX and also on my social. So you kind of know quickly what people like. And then you realize, oh my God, they don't know how to use this, or else, oh my God, everyone loves this. They want more of it. Or no one really, sometimes it's like quiet and you don't hear a lot of stuff, and then the product kind of dies. We launched a foundation, our first foundation, that the team wanted to call a tinted moisturizer. It's in a jar. And I said, no, it is a foundation. It gives me coverage. So we call it What the Foundation, or WTF. And we launched it, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And everything was great until the end of the day, my team called and said, oh no, there's an influencer on TikTok that trashed it, said it's the worst thing she ever used. And I went and looked at the TikTok. It was this beautiful girl named Meredith Bucksbaum or something. And she literally took 2 hands full of product and put it on her face, and then took her hands and went like this. She goes, this is awful. And I, at first my heart went in my stomach. And then I realized I got to educate. So I went on TikTok, and we shot like 4 or 5. And I said, all right, this is who the product's for. If you don't want heavy coverage, if you don't want to look like you're wearing a lot of makeup, if you don't like traditional foundation, this is the formula for you. And this is how you use it. Don't use a moisturizer. Don't use, a primer. Just put this on your face. And use this much of it. And then, as a joke, when I was done, I said, all right, I have another one. And I put my hands in the Miracle Balm, and I said, as a makeup artist, I love learning new tricks. I saw this on TikTok and I'm going to try it. And then I just burst out in laughing. You know, I had it all over my face. And then I said, cut. And I wasn't going to put it up, but my son put it up and it went viral. And I learned a new term that that I did a kickback. Bobbi Brown kicked back. I'm like, what is, whatever that is, I kicked back. So, and by the way, the sales started booming.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a good lesson too for all of us. When something perceivably bad happens, it shows that all press is good press, like all conversation. You can turn it around depending on how you react to it.
Right.
But,
and what you see in it, you have to kind of look at it and then say, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah. And not sort of get overly triggered by it as well. In terms of your core product offering, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Miracle Balm, great. You introduced the foundation. How do you think about product expansion and how that lives relative to the core product and sort of like keeping it balanced out?
Well, you know, lucky for us, we're really not in department stores. So we're not in that same cadence that everyone else has to anniversary or do something for the season and get it, you know, in a year before. We're able to be a little bit, you know, not looser, but a little bit looser. So innovation for me is not a problem. I have more things in the hopper and more things in the approved. So we sit down and figure out, all right, where does it go? What makes sense? And, you know, because sometimes there's bringbacks, sometimes there's another color that needs to come in the line and we have to get rid of one color. So, you know, there's a calendar meeting where we figure it out. You know, we just launched the Bobbi kit, which had a gel liner in it, a clean, you know, gel liner that stays on all day. And we put one in the kit so people can get it. I mean, it's not a secret. Of course, I'm going to bring, you know, the other colors in next year. But I love to bring things forward so people have an opportunity to try something. And by the way, it helps sell the kit.
I love that. I want the Bobbi kit. That sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
For physical storefronts, because I know you said your husband is he's helped to build those out historically. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel that physical storefronts are so integral to the experience, or do you? And what role do physical storefronts play in building out your business and brand?
Well, we didn't think they were that important. And my husband one day called and said, I'm, you know, almost rented up in this new building he renovated. And there's a very small spot, you know, left. Do we want it to open a Jones Road store? And I was like, okay. So, you know, we opened it, and honestly, I didn't have anyone to run it. And I hired a makeup artist literally a month before who had to build a team and get trained and everything. She's now still my head of makeup artistry and kind of does it to all the stores. So I thought that was it. And then it did so well. My husband said, do you want to double the space? I said, okay. And then he said, we should probably do something in New York. And he found the spot on Greenwich Avenue. And then, okay, cool. And then, you know, we're in Florida and someone called and said, there's this fantastic spot on, you know, wherever it is in Palm Beach. Else called and said, there's this cool spot in Hampton. We opened one in Chicago, where I'm from. If anyone's from Chicago, I'll be there Wednesday from 12 to 2. We're doing a Jones Road truck event. I guess I'll be in the truck throwing Miracle Balms at people or something, or mascaras. I'm not sure what the product is. And we have a store in Brooklyn. We're opening Cobble Hill. We are looking for London. We're looking, you know, we signed a lease in Austin. So we're doing all of that.
LA, please. LA would be great.
I would love an LA, place. I've been reaching out and, you know.
I have an open storefront for you.
In the Brentwood Market or something? That's where I want.
It's directly across the street, actually.
I was shown that spot, and one of my celebrity brand friends said, no, you don't want to do it. Great. They, you know, you want to be in it. I know the space. We looked at it.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, but you're right. It's across the street, and people don't necessarily walk across the street.
Right.
I want to get into a couple audience questions before we wrap.
Okay.
And one is from Yvette, who is so grateful for you sharing your insights. Of course, she's exploring the idea of creating a product for eczema using natural ingredients. And she wants to understand how someone like her could get started. From a founder's perspective, what does the product development process typically look like, especially in terms of research, formulation, and bringing it into the market? And any advice for navigating the journey would be amazing.
Well,
From where
really, it's Yvonne, is that her name?
Yvette.
Yvette, you have to, first of all, know what the product is in your head and, that it doesn't exist. And then you have to find a lab, hopefully near you, where you can go in and see their capabilities if they can help you do this. Most labs won't do that unless you pay a certain fee, but there's bigger, smaller labs. Find like the most affordable way in and see if you can create this product before you think about a brand. You know how many people create brands and hire people and they don't have a product? They're just, we're going to develop this product once I get money. I'm like, you've just wasted your time and energy and money because you don't even know if you could make this product.
Yeah, it's such a good point. It was something that Jennifer from OSEA also noted. She's like, if you have a great product, that's how you get customer loyalty. And her core products from their launch are still their core products today.
Right.
And so that's having a great product to lead with. Courtney asked, when you're creating new products, how do you make sure they are really connected with what women need? And how do you confirm proof of concept?
You ask your friends, right? You make something, and what's your opinion? Is this the greatest thing you've ever seen? Oh my God, this is so good. And then you show it to your friend, your sister, your next door neighbor, the lady in the bank, whoever. And if they get excited about it, you're like, huh, well then maybe you could make, 100 little ones and pass them around at the park or pass them around, somewhere. Don't spend a lot of money. Just see what people's opinion are. And then you take it to the next step.
Got it. I think that's a great follow on too to the question. Do you ever find with friends, Bobbi, that they don't give you honesty?
No, my friends are very honest. They're very honest. And I knew when I did Miracle Balm and I was giving these little teeny round things during the pandemic to some of my girlfriends who, were around my age, they're like, oh my God, dude, need more. I need more. And so I knew I was on to something. And I had a couple of them call me and say, I know you've done this a long time, but I don't think you understand how good this is. And I'm like, no, I do. And that helped encourage me to keep doing it.
Yeah. For investment purposes. So a lot of beauty founders go out there and they're trying to figure out how to start themselves up. You funded yourself for Jones Road.
Right.
But do you recommend that? And if you do recommend outside capital, how should the founders think about it? Who should they sort of think about as their ideal investors?
Well, I think, it's a complicated thing. And the first time I launched Bobbi Brown, we didn't have investors. My husband and I and another couple, we split it 50-50. So we didn't spend a lot of money. We didn't need a lot of money. And we basically took the profits and reinvested that in. I'm very old fashioned that way. I have so many friends that are strategic, like investment people. And it's not just about who you're taking the money from. It's what can they give to you? As a founder, you need someone that you can call and say, oh my God, this is falling apart. This is happening. That's happening. You need someone to say, okay, calm down. Let's talk about it. Like, to me, that's the best kind of partner that you can have, is someone that actually cares about you and doesn't judge you because you're an emotional wreck.
Right. Because you're going to be an emotional wreck as a founder.
Of course you are.
You're going to go through crazy things. And if you have somebody that's judging you, that's not going to work. Nikki asked, what marketing strategies have been the most effective for Jones Road's beauty's growth? And how can smaller brands leverage these kind of strategies? It seems like you're super integrated. And so that definitely plays to your advantage. But any like, these were almost silver bullets for us.
Well, it all kind of adds up. And I mean, look, I believe that some of the press I've gotten has been really helpful. My son is like, "Oh, mom, you're smoking something." It's the digital ads that he's doing. So, I mean, yes, our digital ads are what's really, fueling the growth. But all that stuff adds up. Even the micro influencer that says they love something and they've got, 7,000 followers and they believe the person they're following, people are going to run out and buy something. When Kris Jenner posted something about Jones Road, I didn't get a whole lot of, followers or anything, because I think she is so big that all the people that follow her, they follow because they're interested in her. And she, she gives love to a lot of products. So I think it,
Right.
wasn't, it didn't get anyone's attention.
Got it. That's super helpful. Well, it's about time to wrap. But before I wrap, I always ask, especially people like you, if there are what's the most sort of salient piece of advice you've gotten on your journey or you've collected yourself that sort of informs how you build, or that you would tell to a founder who's just starting out?
So I would say, first of all, don't be afraid to say, help, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what salient means.
Like something that just stuck with you the most, that it just sticks out as like, this is something founders have to know.
Right.
Like
yeah.
patience, that Jennifer Palmer talked about,
right.
Which is so true.
Well, I think founders have to know that this is not a slam dunk. And founders are often in this crazy rush. They feel so much pressure to, to make the investors happy. But I think that founders have to know that you've got to just figure out how to breathe. You've got to figure out how to take care of yourself. So you could take care of the brand, possibly take care of your children, your husband, your mother, your father, but you have to take care of yourself first. And the brand part of it, there's no magic dust. People call me all the time, Bobbi, please help me. I'm like, I don't have magic dust. I just have calm down, constantly look at everything. Is it the best? What could be better? Like, an investor is not biting at your bid. Look at your bid. Maybe something's not good enough with it. Like, slow down and just kind of shift and figure it out.
I love that. It's so important to sit back sometimes, but also I love that you talk about taking care of yourself, because I think that's also something that founders a lot of times don't feel like they have the permission to do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, Bobbi, this has been absolutely invigorating and inspiring, and we cannot thank you enough for being so generous with your experience. I know that you, looking back, you're like, I don't feel like, and you don't seem like you are your age, because you're so much more innovative, I feel like, than people for every age group. So we really appreciate you continuing to innovate for all of us that are serious consumers of your products, but also who can try to follow in your stead. Like you're the original female business owner icon, for all of us. So really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you. And you guys that are watching, you've all got this. And if you don't got it, do something else.
True. Don't just hold on.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much, Bobbi. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.